Hello, my people. How are we doing today? It's your girl Chinelo, and I want to welcome you to another edition of Let's Get to Know You. If you can hear me, please write hi in the comment section so that I know that you are hearing us properly. You can hear us well. And on today's talk show, we have a special guest by the name Mr. Godfred Schutz. He is a financial advisor with whom he's going to give us some tips and tricks on how to make your money work for you. We'll be touching on investment and retirement planning. And I know this is a very critical and also important topic as the world is faced with a lot of uncertainties. But before we go into that, I would like to urge you to check out Language Afrique. Language Afrique is a language school tailored to help you learn different African languages. The registration is on until the 31st of March 2024 for the next cohort. And you have the option of learning different languages such as Swahili for those thinking to do business in East Africa, or other languages such as Igbo, Yoruba, Twi, Zulu, and a host of others that your kids also can benefit from to learn the language and also to learn the culture. So now back to our topic for today. Yeah. Today's topic is on investment, and we have our special guest by the name Godfred Schutz. Like I said, he is a financial advisor, and I will just give a brief introduction about him, and then he will go deeper. So our guest, Godfred Schutz, studied aerospace engineering at Bedford University, United Kingdom, furthered his expertise by completing a master's in engineering. He worked as a subcontractor for Volkswagen and SIT, contributing his engineering skills to the automotive industry. He switched over to the medical industry by joining Vega, a high-end medical company known for its cutting-edge medical technology. He has worked with Airbus, a global leader in aerospace, specifically in the strategic management field. He's currently in the business consulting field, and I'll let him do more of the talking as usual. So, Mr. Chips, please, you have the floor. Tell us more about it. We want to know you more before we go into the topic of today. Please have the floor. Have the floor.
All right. I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes. Sorry,
Okay.
before you begin, if you have questions, please drop your questions in the comment section. We'll take them as we go on. Thank you. Please go ahead.
All right. By the way, people will be always moving up and down in the office because we're still currently working. So if by any chance the background noise comes back in or it's loud, just let me know so I can just communicate it accordingly. So
Okay, that's
basically speaking, yeah, introducing myself. Yeah, we could talk about the engineering degree and everything around it, but as I know, the whole purpose of today's meeting is really to get to know me a bit and also to think about the opportunities that we have here in Europe. Because one thing is we can run around with our degrees, shout out aerospace, Airbus, and so forth. But just a little bit to myself. In my case, actually born in Germany, raised in Ghana partially, also lived in the UK for a while, and yeah, I've been jumping careers, which I went from engineering all the way to business consulting, and I'm also doing financial consulting at the same time. Because one thing that I noticed is that a lot of us, we are very ambitious, but the German language tends to be a big challenge for most of us. So in my case, I've had the blessing or the experience or the luck. I've been fortunate to actually see different areas of things in this German economy, and I also do a couple of things in unions with Africans to support and see and understand the challenge that we have. And in this case, yes. engineering degree is there, but my primary focus today is more to be their financial advisor, help people understand the insights of finances regarding any related thing that we know from back home and how to implement it here. So I would welcome as many questions as possible, because the more questions we get, the more personal this seminar or this education round will be. Because we said ownership, property ownership, and investment and retirement is the focus. But for any question that comes in, we can make it more specific because we have different presentations to adjust to every question. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Or
so
do you want me to
much.
move forward?
Yeah, we can now go into the topic.
Okay. So, one thing I like to do in order to really help people understand what we do and how we do things, and that's why we are actually starting with this presentation, with this picture, is regardless on what we talk about, we are saying property ownership, investment, retirement. All those things are dreams that we want to achieve, which I understand. But for the people who are on right now, who have been able to join on time, if you look and try to just comment into the section, it would help. If you look at these pictures right now, what would come to mind? Just let me know. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. Feel free to write it on whatever platform we are on. We'll see it on the message here. But while you are looking at this, use it to dream, because for everyone who's been here in Europe, abroad, we all came here for a reason. We didn't just come here to sit home and watch television. I hope. Although, yeah, African entertainment for me personally is more entertaining than other things because I can relate more to it. But as a matter of fact, as we continue, one thing that I normally hear when people look at these pictures, I always give an example. If I have people who are at university, the first thing they would say is, what I can see is graduation, vacation, holidays, fun. If I have parents, I tend to hear the answer, oh, good life, family, house, also sometimes vacation. If I have people who are in the older ages, all of a sudden what they see is actually where my picture is on, retirement. And those are different things that people see. And that's why I like using this picture, because generally speaking, when you see this picture, the main thing you need to understand, what you tend to see or visualize for yourself are your own personal visions and goals. And before we talk about the specific of each other, I'd like to help you understand exactly what the financial advisor does. Therefore, the main element or the main part that I would like to start off with in this case is really, let's see if my touch screen is working, and it's not. 1 second. Okay, there we go. So the main thing that I would like to address in this case primarily is the element of what a financial consultant does, because I'm a financial consultant but also work a lot in the business segment. But today it's not going to be in the business advising, but generally the understanding of financial consulting. So the basic and simple way of explaining this is very simple, and there's a short delay. Okay, it's very simple. We all are clients somewhere. And this is an animation, so you can just follow it as it goes. We all are clients somewhere, regardless on if it's being in a bank, having one or two insurances, but we are clients somewhere. And the main element behind it is that while we are clients somewhere, we all have certain wishes and goals, which falls back to the picture that I'm showing you right now. And I can see a big delay because it went one step ahead, but I'm not going to go back. But the main thing is we all have wishes and goals. And as we know, regardless on the pictures that I showed you, anything that you want to accomplish in life, if it's buying a house, vacation, anything related to it, do you believe that you can accomplish those things without financial measures? Because from now, okay, actually, let me give you the time to answer the question for yourself. Because without financial measures, a lot of things are not possible. I always say money does not make us happy, but money plays a big role in the economy that we're in today. So we need to understand that we need to use it and leverage it for our advantage. And one main thing I always say is there are five main pillars of finances, especially here in Germany. Number one is everything related to banking. Then we have the element related to insurances, because certain things you will need to insure. Latest, when you buy a car, if you like it or not, you will need to get a car insurance. Then we have the element of investment. And the element of investment gets misunderstood in many ways, because investment is not just stocks, investment is not just real estate, Investment is technically everything that brings you more gain or more benefits. And it's something that I'll go more into. But one example is real estate, the sense of real estate. And then we talk about the state. And the state, for all of us who are working, one thing we know is that we pay tax. And there are so many ways of getting that money back, which we don't know. However, especially in a country like Germany, or even in countries that might speak English, you need to find a way to really understand how it works. And one thing I can say to that is that if it comes to that, we as financial advisors um, tend to have the challenge that people have two banks, three different people. Then they have another one who's doing investment, another one's doing real estate. But everyone is talking for themselves. And the challenge is if you only, and I had this example today in the morning seminar that we have. Imagine you want to cook, you are hungry and you want to eat. And you say, I want to eat spaghetti. If you want to eat spaghetti, are you just going to buy the spaghetti? Or are you also going to buy ingredients for the sauce, pepper, seasoning? You need to get all of it. But sometimes you go to one place, say, oh, I want spaghetti. They'll give you just the spaghetti. And the main thing, the reason why I use this example is very simple. If we look at all this, okay, we as financial advisors, the main thing we do is we are the connection. Oops, and that went too fast. 1 second. Yeah, there's a short delay on my PC. It's probably because of the internet connection. But let's see. Back. What we do is we actually connect every single element related to state, real estate, investment, insurance. And instead of going to all those different institutions to get different views, we connect you to all of them. And based on the information we have from all of them, we do build your own personal financial strategy. Okay. And that's in a short and simple niche what we do as financial consultants. Just so you understand, we are the connectors between all the different institutions. And one thing that helps us, and one thing that is specific to the brand that we work, we call ourselves Financial Advisors Germany because our whole purpose, our primary focus is really to support everyone who's moved into Germany. And the principle applies to any other country because finances, the money language is the money language. And if you understand the money game, you understand the money game. But our primary focus is, especially here in Germany, because we are based in Germany, we know all the systems within Germany, to really empower our people. Because people will want to buy a house. People want to know how to make more money out of the money that they have. People want to know how to get tax back. And that's what we help people with. And a lot of companies, our premium partners, that we have direct access to the system, some of them you know. Number one, Deutsche Bank. I believe that everyone knows Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank here in Germany is the biggest bank here in Germany. It's also known in America, I know. And then we have so-called Generali. Generali is for those people who are more kind of East Africa, they know Generali also. But Generali is actually the biggest insurance company in Europe. And then another big premium partner that we have is the Commerzbank. If I say I'm going to list all of our partners, it's going to be a bit long, but for any situation, we have different partners that we adjust with. And that's just one thing that people need to understand. So based on this, what I would like to, the first thing I would like to ask is if anyone has like any specific question, or if you have anything to add to this before I actually also introduce myself in the position that I am here right now. Any questions? Anything to add, please? I'm not hearing anything and I'm not reading anything. So I'm just going to just summarize a little bit about the element before we actually start with the input. One thing is, I said, your speaker of the day is me, Godfrey Schultz. I've already been introduced, so I'm going to skip this. But one thing people also need to realize that yes, I can talk about my engineering degrees, but as we are talking about finances, we need to more focus on the financial certification that we have. In my case, I'm having the certification for insurances, for investments, real estate is also a point. And the main thing that you need to understand, and that's the disclaimer that you are seeing on the on the right button, which is everything that I'm going to explain right now is going to be the principle of financial consulting. Depending on your personal situation, things might need to be adjusted in one shape or form. But as long as you've understood the principle, you can use that insight to actually position yourself in the right way and also ask the right questions. And one thing I said, regional branch here in Hamburg, we do actually have clients all over, and our team, which you're going to see here, is diversified. We are having people from China all the way to where China is there, all the way to Portugal. And the whole purpose, as I said, our primary goal is to really emphasize on the element that we are focusing on expats or people who have actually moved here to Germany. So at this point, okay, I can see that in a normal case, there should be a QR code in the middle where you could literally scan and ask and answer one or two questions, which for whatever reason is deactivated. So therefore, I'm just going to skip that element and ask if there are any specific things you'd like me to address in today's meeting. Anyone there? Okay, that was feedback. Okay, so as you are setting up your system or getting that feedback out, I'll just continue a little bit. And one thing, oh yeah, we definitely got it. So, what to expect today? What to expect today is to understand that when we are talking about those five pillars, in this case, you're only seeing four because state is a specific one. If we talk about insurance, real estate, banking, and investment, as said, the whole purpose is to combine all of them. That means you're going to get everything out of one source. Okay. And as today's title, we are going to get into today's title. The main thing to understand is that the main challenges I will be talking about today, which covers the element of property and retirement plan, is our three main challenges that we're going to talk about. What does it mean, or is it actually a possibility to really buy a property here in Germany? The second element is going to focus more on old age poverty. And old age poverty in Germany is real. Apologies. Old age poverty in Germany here is real. And the main thing to consider while I'm getting my iPad ready in case I need to do some drawing, the main thing that you need to consider is that when we're talking about here in Germany, the main thing about things here in Germany is the following. For those people, especially who are living in the big cities, you have all probably noticed that when you're at Hapanov or you're traveling and you're at Hapanov, you're going to see old people. And I don't know if you've noticed, but you're going to see old people gathering bottles. And when you see old people gathering bottles, a lot of people don't ask themselves why. If I ask the question right now, people will be like, oh, yeah, I've been seeing old people gathering bottles. And the reason why old people are gathering bottles is not for fun. Most of the time is because what they thought they would get in pension or what they are getting in pension is not enough to fulfill their needs and pay their bills. And one big element, which is the last point, is the element of inflation. And we all have experienced the main power of inflation in the last couple of years. Before Corona, when I talked about inflation, some people will know about it. Some people will just laugh at me and be like, God, inflation is not a real thing. And those are the main things that we'll talk about because those are the main things that affect the element of real estate acquisition and the element of pension. Therefore, and please interrupt me whenever because I'm going to move on till I see that the system is working. You're back on. So, as a matter of fact, one thing is if we talk about the element of whoops, where's my mouse? There we go. When we talk about the element of real estate, okay, one thing is, and I like using statistics, okay, and this is just a general question all of you need to ask yourself. Real estate is too expensive. Why invest? It's a typical question I get like, Alfred, is it really worth it to actually acquire a house? I don't know. Any thoughts? Any comments? Actually, I'm not seeing messages from will be displayed. Okay. Any comments? Any primary questions? Because things are getting more expensive. Now they're saying that the interest rates of real estate has gone high. Is it really worth investing into it? That's one of the most typical questions that I get. And I'm going to use, as you see on the top right, the statistics of the German Bundes Statistikamt, which means the main German statistic source, which I'm going to use because I like using official documents, makes it easier for people to understand where I'm coming from. So when we look at this, and this is just going to be a short side story because, as you know, a lot of people have been moving into Germany because of different crises. And one thing to understand is very simple. In Germany, these are the numbers of immigrants moving into Germany annually. 2011, it used to be around 958,000. Okay. 2015, which is the year my son was born, there was a very big spike of 2.1 million. Does anyone know? Does anyone know? Does anyone know what happened in 2015 by any chance? Because 2015, one thing to consider in 2015 is very simple. In 2015, that's when everything started happening in Syria, where the people from Syria started moving into Germany. And that's where this spike is coming from. You understand? And at that time, a lot of people moved to Germany. And it started dying down a little bit. And then 2021 to 2022, we had the big jump of another 2.6 million. So the big question is, what happened 2 years ago? Buy a house in Germany. Okay. Oh, the interesting questions coming in. So basically, based on this, one thing you're going to realize is that more and more people are actually moving into Germany. And it's something that we definitely need to consider. Okay. So based on this, another part that I wanted to also show you is at the first one, we had people who were immigrating to Germany. And believe it or not, while people are coming in, people are also going out. So I'm going to jump back and forth. Here you can see 2015, about 900,000 left. And going back, 202 million actually entered. The year after, 1.3 million left. That means a lot of people who came from Syria, when things calmed down or when they found a place, they found their way back. But this is not only about the Syrians. This is all overall statistics. This is not separated to certain nationalities. But as you can see, there are always more moving out than moving in, which is why I have another graph where you're going to see exactly how many people are actually staying. So in this graph, and it's a lot of numbers, and I don't want to confuse you with numbers and graphs. But one thing you can see is since 2021 and 2011 to 2022, the average increase of the German population was 5.35 thousand. 535,000. So based on that, Germany has been growing, or the people moving into Germany have been going up and up. And it's a very important factor to consider. Why? Because as you all noticed, rent is going higher and higher. And we all learned this at school, or we've heard it somewhere before. Supply and demand. The more people are here, the less apartments and houses we have. And as long as we don't have enough house and the building part is they are not following up with the amount of buildings they need to build, the more rent is going to go high because people are going to pay more rent as long as they have an apartment. You understand? So based on this, the living, the will to live in your own apartment or in a house is always going to be high demanding. And let me just give you a bit more specifics to that because one question I also ask is, do you really think it's making sense to own your own property or should I just pay rent and live based on rent? And when we talk about rent, one thing we need to understand is that rent is just one point of the element. And I don't know, see, I don't know. I said interrupt me when you have questions because one question that came in, which I'm gonna actually definitely gonna come back to is buying a house a liability or an asset? And that question, I can only answer it with it depends. It depends how you use it because liability and assets is a very important element that you need to consider. Okay. And as you can see, there's still a lot of movements here in the office. But and one thing I want to understand in Germany, okay, one thing you need to understand is that, honestly speaking, over 80% of the people would love to have their own apartment or buy their own house. But the fact is that a lot of people are not able to or don't have the patience to put the money aside because only 40% of the German population actually own their own ownership. And based on that, if 80% are looking for some and 40% only have it, they need to consider the fact that there's still going to be a high demand. So let me give you an example why it's something you need to consider. If you look at this, and I'm just realizing it's German. If you look at this, these are the statistics, also from the statistics central, where you're going to see how. Oh, okay, I know what's going to happen. There we go. It's going to turn to English in a second. So, based on that, the main thing you need to understand is over since 1920, okay, 1990 to 2020, you could see that the average increase of rent used to be 2.7%, okay, increase. And that's one thing a lot of people underestimate. Let me just give you an example. I don't know where all of you are living, but one thing you need to understand is that when we are talking about rent, okay, let's say, okay, you are living at a place. Most of us will probably be in the 30s or the 40s. I might be living here for a while. And imagine the average rent, at least if I'm talking about things outside Hamburg, because Hamburg is much more expensive. Imagine you're paying a rent of 800 euros. Most of us here, most of us here actually are going to live here more than 30 years, 35 years. And the main thing to consider in this thing is that if you live for 35 years, the question you need to ask yourself, how much am I really paying rent over the course of the time? And I'm just taking 35 years. Most of us are going to be here more than 35 years or have been living here more than 35 years. And 35 years is literally what we need to consider. Because let's say you've been paying 800 for 35 years. Over 35 years, assuming the rent is not increasing, over 35 years, you would have paid 336,000 euros. And if we assume that at that point you're in pension, are they just going to give you the apartment for free? Are they going to say, oh, Godfred, you've been a tenant for 35 years and you've paid 336,000. As you've paid 336,000, one second, please. 336,000, you're not going to get the money back. You're not going to get the money back. And they are not going to tell you, oh, we're going to reduce the rent. Okay. But with this 336,000, if you just think back 20 years back, could you have used that to buy a house or an apartment? 100%. But now, this is the nice version. But one thing we need to consider is that rent increases. Just check your own rent and see how it's been increasing. If we just assume it was just increasing every year, just by 1%, okay, starting with 800 euros, you would end up after 36 years, at 35 years, to be paying 402,104 and 98 cents just on rent. Thinking about it, if you have taken a mortgage over 35 years and paid out that money, you would have gotten a house too. Finally, let's assume the average 2.7%, starting at 800 euros. Over 35 years, you would have paid 500,000 just as rent. And that apartment is still not going to be yours. And that's when people need to start thinking, does it make sense? Does it not make sense? Unfortunately, one thing you need to also understand is that affording an apartment or a house is still not for everyone. But if we sit down and we find an opportunity, I'll always say take it. And in places like Hamburg, Berlin, München, Frankfurt, 2.7% would be nice. But you won't get 2.7%. then we'll be talking about 3.5% ish increase. Okay, and when that happens, we're getting close to a million. 652,205 and 19 cents. And when you consider all this, yes,